Shalom, this is Pastor Roy Blight from Messiah House here in Lake Worth, Florida. Today, we're coming to you with Season of the Shofar. We're talking about things that have to do with Bible prophecy. And today's a very interesting one because we're continuing with some of the things that are going on down at the South Pole, that have gone down at the South Pole, some of the things that have been conjectured. And we're just looking at these things and we're kind of wondering, but this all has to do with biblical prophecy in a big way because there is a war that is being prepared for, and we're in the middle right now of so many amazing things happening, and we're just studying these. So this is Season of the Shofar, and we're talking about as it was in the days of Noah, and we're talking about the hollow earth theory, and we're talking about Nazism. So let's get right into our study today. Now, as we begin the study, remember, as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the days of the coming of the Son of Man. These are days that Jesus talked about. He wanted to prepare his people for the days that were ahead. They asked him, they said, what is it going to be like at your coming? When you're coming back, what is the world going to be like? And he said specifically, this will be just like it was in the days of Noah. So as it was in the days of Noah, there was a flood that judged the earth. And there's not, the Lord promised he wouldn't judge the earth with water the next time, it would be with fire. And the fire seems to have started, and we're looking at many things. And when we look at this theory of the hollow earth, there's so many things that we speculate, we're touching on, we're quoting people, what they have said, what they have seen. And we want to look at this subject really soberly, and we want to look at it according to what the according to what the Word of God is trying to tell us. So we're looking at the hollow earth, fact or fiction. How much of it is fact and how much of it is fiction is one of the questions. But we see and that we're going to look at, there's been people that have been going to Antarctica in the last few years, and there's people that have been going down there, and there's many legends, and there's many things that have happened, and there's been government hush-ups and all these things going on. So let's look at this. But remember, the Lord said, but as the days of Noah were, so also will the coming of the Son of Man be. And this is part 3, and this is the final presentation that we have on this subject of the hollow earth and Nazism and so forth, and some of the esoteric things that have been done in the occult and some of the teachings. We've gone over a lot of different things, and this is part and parcel of all of that. So when we look at NASA, remember that after World War II, after the Nazis were defeated, there was an operation called Operation Paperclip that brought the Nazi scientists into America. And what we know today as NASA, we could actually understand that it came from the Nazis, and the technology that they brought with them is what we have now in our space program and many of the things that we have today. So understand that all of this is connected at some level at some point. This was called Operation High Jump. Now, we want to look also, and when you look at Operation High Jump, we want to look at an encounter that Admiral Byrd had, a UFO encounter that his son brought to light after his death, and that we've been looking at for many years now and trying to understand exactly what he saw, what he experienced in his life that he was told not to talk about at all. We're going to look at that today as well. So when we look at NASA, getting back to NASA, we have Werner von Braun, who was one of the Nazi scientists and brought many things. There's other scientists as well. There's some great books out there about Operation Paperclip, about the secret intelligence program that brought Nazi scientists to America, and it happened, and it was done in such a way that it was seen perfectly normal, and this is where we have been. The Nazis came to America and were part and parcel of the space program that you and I are used to. But let's also go back and remember Admiral Byrd. Admiral Byrd was an amazing fellow. He being a former Navy admiral, he's something that you should listen, somebody that we should listen to, somebody that we should respect. And let's talk about Admiral Byrd for just a couple moments here. Admiral Byrd, again, was a United States naval officer, an admiral, and there were many explorers in the late 19th and the early 20th centuries that set out to attempt the exploration of the polar regions, the North Pole and the South Pole. Admiral Byrd did both. Easily the most recent and most successful of all the explorers of the Arctic regions, the North Pole and the South Pole, was that of Richard Byrd, Admiral Byrd. Making many flights over both North and South poles and mapping the Antarctic, Byrd became America's expert in the field and is still considered to be America's expert in the field to this very day. So there's been many books written, there's been many videos done about Admiral Byrd. Early in his career, in 1929, Byrd made a flight with his navigator, Lloyd K. Grenly, over the Antarctic. They discovered a range of high mountain peaks called the Rockefeller Mountains, named after the sponsor of the expedition. They made a filming of a second trip that same year, 1929, and this newsreel film was played all over theaters in the United States describing both trips that Byrd took. Now, their film showed photographs of the land, quote, the land beyond the pole, unquote, and it showed a semi-tropical paradise, including mountains, trees, rivers, and a large animal identified as a woolly mammoth. It's interesting to note that today this film no longer exists. Nobody can find any hint of it anywhere. But many older people do attest that they remember the movie and Byrd's controversial log from 1929, which was released in 1947. Now, in Admiral Byrd's diary, his last entry before his death in 1957 tells us some amazing things that were on his mind at the time, and you'll get the note of resignation in his diary. And he's talking about the things that he had gone through. He can't talk about it overtly. He's talking about it in somber tones, about his secret expedition and what happened to him during Operation High Jump back in 1946 and 47. This is what he wrote in his log. December 25th, 1956. These last few years since 1947 have not been so kind. I now make my final entry in this singular diary. In closing, I must state that I have faithfully kept this matter secret as directed all these years. He was told to shut up about it and not to say anything. And being a military man, he kept his orders. It has been completely against my values and moral rights, this him keeping silent. He said, now I seem to sense a long night coming on, and the secret will not die with me, but as truth it shall triumph. It, the truth, is the only hope for all mankind. I have seen, and it has quickened my spirit and set me free. So he had, in his heart, he was released from all of this. I have done my duty towards the monstrous military-industrial complex. This monstrous military-industrial complex is something that we still see, and in fact has taken over our government even to this day. But this is one of the words of Admiral Byrd back in 1957. I have done my duty towards the monstrous military-industrial complex. No wonder he was shut up. So we see that this we're told, and even a speech by President Eisenhower warned us. He said, beware the military industrial complex. This is what we're seeing, especially now, because they have no spending limits at all, and they just are spending the future of America out of oblivion, and this is what we're seeing. But Byrd went on in his log. He said, now the long night of the Arctic ends. The brilliant sunshine of truth shall come again, and those who are of darkness shall fail in flight. So he's referring back to what he has seen, and in his expedition in 1946 and 1947, when he led a flotilla down to the Antarctic and were faced, and people died from this battle that occurred between this highly sophisticated new technology that they didn't know anywhere else in the world in 1946 and 47, and what he saw and what he was not allowed to talk about. Byrd went on, he said, for I have seen that land beyond the poles, the center of the great unknown. So he's talking about Antarctica, and he's talking about the things that he had seen, some of the things that he had experienced. He couldn't go into detail because as a military man, he was under orders not to give any details, but he was alluding to these things that he had seen. And when you coincide what Byrd saw with a lot of technological advances that the Nazis had, who said themselves that they were in touch with spiritual forces that were demonic. You can see how these things were starting to build up even back in the 40s and the 50s, and how much greater is it even now today in 2024. And this is the technology that Bird was alluding to, that we're seeing today, that is out there and has so many people mesmerized, and people are looking at. We think of it as so normal, but it is so advanced. If you brought somebody from the 40s or 50s and made them alive today, and they looked at the technology we have in every sphere of the military, they'd be blown away at the advancements that we have seen. But we think it is normal because we just kind of take it as is. But understand that this thing, the days we're heading into, are going to be very not normal. So understand that what we're looking at today are things that, when you talk about the hollow earth theory, we're not really sure what's going on. We know there are things are happening under the earth, but to what extent, we're not sure. But we know that something is going on, and it's part of the scenario of the last days in Bible prophecy. Now, I want us to begin talking about something that is very amazing to me and is wider in scope than just the United States. And it's wider in scope than some of the things that are here, even in the West. And this is talking about what is known as the Ark of Gabriel. And this is a fascinating thing that has happened. There's a lot of conjecture, and there's been a lot of rumors, and there's innuendos that are going on about actually what happened with the Ark of Gabriel. But I want to bring it up because this is part and parcel of what is going on in Antarctica, what has been going on in Antarctica, and some of the supernatural things that we're seeing in the days we're living in right now that man has a hard time explaining. And what I just want to bring it to people's attention, because 9 out of 10 people you meet have never heard of the Ark of Gabriel. The Ark of Gabriel was first discovered in Mecca on September the 11th, 2015, by a construction crew tunneling under the Masjid al-Haram Mosque in Mecca. They were all tragically killed by a plasma, quote unquote, emission when they attempted to unearth it. Even worse, on September 24th, 2015, during a second attempt to unearth the mysterious Ark of Gabriel, another massive plasma emission killed an estimated 4,000 more people. However, Saudi officials blamed this tragedy on a stampede, so they kind of pushed it to the side and they explained, well, this is a stampede of people. But something happened with these plasma emissions. And this happened during the Hajj in Mecca. This is one of the most famous times in every year, for especially for Muslims, making they're all required once in their lifetime to make a pilgrimage there. But this is happening right in the center place, right in the meeting place and the most famous place in all of Islam. And then right after that, something very interesting happened with the Pope of Rome and with the Eastern Orthodox head, Kirill. And we want to look at this because this is part of the story. Now, when we look at the Russians were involved and the Saudi Arabians involved, questions were asked and have been asked. So people would say, well, what was actually going on in Saudi Arabia at Mecca? Why was Pope Francis meeting with the Eastern Orthodox Patriarch Kirill? Why were Russian naval vessels found docking at Jeddah, a Saudi Arabian port, right after this? What was going on? A lot of it's very hush-hush and nobody's wanting to talk about it, but some major things were happening and taking place. What could possibly be so important that it would bring these religious entities, the Pope and the head of the Eastern Orthodox Church together, they'd not met for almost 1,000 years? What brought them together? What was the purpose of moving this Ark of Gabriel to Antarctica from Mecca, Saudi Arabia? What is the Ark of Gabriel, and what is this all about? And this is what we're discussing here, because this has to do also with some of the things that are happening even in Bible prophecy right now. So the Ark of Gabriel came from under the Kaaba, which people are talking about even to this day. Not so much in the West, because people in the West are completely ignorant of so many things that are going on in the East, especially in the realm of Islam and all the other religions out there. But understand that this is an important thing that happened. Now, when we look at the Ark of Gabriel, It is not to be confused with the Ark of the Covenant that is spoken of in the Bible, not at all. In fact, in my opinion, and this is just what I think, it looks to be a satanic counterfeit of the Ark of the Covenant, because it doesn't bring life like the Ark of the Covenant represents life. It brought death. And it is, legend has it that it came down from the Nephilim before the flood of Noah. So this Islamic Ark is not to be confused with the Ark of the Covenant, which housed the 2 stone tablets of God found in the Judean Christian Bible. That's not it at all. The Ark of Gabriel, which is not mentioned in the Judeo-Christian Bible, is a mysterious device, a secret weapon that many people are only beginning to learn about and speculate about, and not understanding any of it. A legendary manuscript pertaining to the Ark of Gabriel claims it was written directly by the Watchers, the Nephilim described in the book of Enoch. And this is a legend, but this is what it claims, that it was written by the Watchers, and it has to do with something that has to do with the last days. Remember, as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the days of the coming of the Son of Man. And this legend goes before the flood. This manuscript is entitled Gabriel's Instructions to Muhammad. And they were given way back during the days of Muhammad, and it was given and was taken away during the Crusades by the Christian crusaders coming out of the Roman Catholic areas of Rome, and even in the eastern portion. It appears that this legend about the Ark of Gabriel has been renewed by the havoc seen during these recent events in Mecca over the past few years. Very mysterious. People have been asking questions. What was exactly going on here that got so many of the high clerical people involved with this thing? And it's an amazing study. It goes all the way back to the time of Muhammad. What is the potential fury that could be unleashed upon planet Earth by this Ark of Gabriel? This legend is said to have ties to both Christian and Islamic faiths, in that the Archangel Gabriel is said by the Muslims to have visited Muhammad and gave the Islamic prophet a message. This is what they say. It was actually the angel Gabriel. There's spirits that call themselves Gabriel. We don't know exactly what's going on, but this is what the legend says. When the Roman Catholic Crusaders pillaged Constantinople in 1204, the Eastern Orthodox Church was able to squirrel away the contents of a manuscript from the Hagia Sophia Cathedral titled Gabriel's Instructions to Muhammad. So the Western Roman Catholic Church in Rome, who came to the Middle East for the Crusades, were actually taking things from the Eastern Orthodox side of their Orthodox religion as well. The document that they found in the Gabriel's Instructions to Muhammad details the message that the Archangel Gabriel was supposed to have given to Muhammad in a cave near the holy city of Mecca in Saudi Arabia. This is what is talked about, what is alleged, and was buried beneath Mecca there at the Kaaba, and this is what was unearthed in 2015. Very mysterious, but the facts are the facts. People died when this thing was unearthed, and this is known as the Ark of Gabriel. Now, it tells of a box, an ark, that holds a tremendous power and belongs only to God. Remember the source in all of this. It was said that this ark was forbidden to be used until the resurrection day, which, no matter how you want to frame it, the resurrection day, whether it's in Islam or in Christianity, it has to do with the last days before the coming of the Son of Man. And this is what we're looking at. So this is one of the signs that it looks to be within Islam of the coming of the Messiah, or the Mahdi in their frame of reference. So understand that this is all very important. In the last days, God is giving signs about the last days, and he's doing it to everybody who will listen, and he's trying to tell them in whatever language they speak and whatever culture that they exist in, and in whatever religion they know, the Messiah is ready to come back. And the Messiah's coming is the center place of all human history, and the signs are there. And it looks to be that this Ark of Gabriel is signs in the earth for some people that are here even right now, and we need to pay attention to God's signs. To the followers of Islam, the place of worship of angels before the creation of man, quote unquote, could be no other place than Mecca, the holy city where all devout Muslims must attempt a Hajj, a yearly 5-day pilgrimage, at least once in their lifetimes. This ark and its revelation was supposed to signify the end of the world. Therefore, it was here that the Ark of Gabriel was said to be buried beneath the Grand Mosque, quietly waiting the end of all things. And could this be what caused this thing to happen in 2015, when all of a sudden this thing is unloosed at Mecca? This is what we're looking at, and this is a very big deal in Islam. On the surface, due to the ever-growing influx of pilgrims coming to pray at the Grand Mosque, the structure has had to continually expand to keep up. They're always doing construction on things that are going on there in Mecca. Recall that it was during construction efforts to expand and or refurbish the Grand Mosque that the crew of laborers discovered the Ark of Gabriel that had been secreted away for over 1,000 years. The consequences were severe. And again, on September 11, 2015, a crane fell, causing 107 deaths, including the 15-man crew, and injuring as many as 238 people, all at the same time. Now, to keep a lid on things, the spokespeople for the Grand Mosque attributed the accident to a strong sandstorm, winds, and torrential rains. Why did they do that? Well, they weren't really exactly sure what they were dealing with, but there were mass deaths and mass casualties on their hands, and they had to come up with some reason for something happening somehow. Now, a report by the Russian Ministry of Defense agreed that it was on this day that when the construction crew attempted to remove the ark, a plasma emission spewed up from the ground with such vengeance that it knocked over the massive crane. Then just 12 days later, disaster struck again, this time 3 days into the Hajj, when millions had gathered from across the world to worship in Mecca. This tragedy killed 4,000 worshipers. Now, what was the cause? It was reported that many people witnessed another plasma emission made after a second attempt to unearth the Ark of Gabriel. And so this is where the whole story kind of stuck. Immediately, worldwide action took place. This is irrefutable. You can speculate about what was going on there in Mecca, but worldwide action began right then and there. The Russian government, the Vatican, and the Patriarch of Eastern Orthodox Christianity were all summoned. And the main one in this drama was the Patriarch Kirill of the Eastern Orthodox Church, the Pope of Eastern religion, if you will. But there was also Vladimir Putin. Why? What do the Russians, the Pope, and the Patriarch Kirill have to do with the Ark of Gabriel? Well, in December 2015, Russian naval warships were seen docking in Jeddah, a key Saudi Arabian port city not far from Mecca. And Russia and Saudi Arabia, they're not that close at all. So why would this be happening? It appears that shortly after the second grave incident, Grand Mosque emissaries decided they would not take any more chances with this Ark of Covenant, with this plasma emission thing. They reached out to Patriarch Kirill through the Pontiff of Rome, the Pope Francis, knowing not only that the church was in possession of Gabriel's instructions to Muhammad, but that the instructions likely contained information on how to safely approach the Ark of Gabriel. They needed some help in this. And the Ark of Gabriel, nobody had heard of anything about it, and it was here under the Kaaba. And what are you going to do with all of this? And they were stuck. They didn't know what to do. Well, we find now that this is an amazing thing, because the Pope of Rome and the Pope of Eastern Orthodox Christianity had not met for almost 1,000 years. And all of a sudden they're meeting in Havana, Cuba for the first time. 2 months later, the heads of the Russian Orthodox Church and the Roman Catholic Church met for the first time in 1,000 years, where it is believed that Pope Francis gave the Patriarch Kirill the vital information that had been missing from the manuscript stolen at the Hagia Sophia in 1204. Immediately after their meeting in Havana, Cuba, the Patriarch Kirill voyaged to Antarctica himself to seemingly conduct some religious ancient ritual using the ancient documents, Gabriel's instruction to Muhammad. So all of a sudden, the Patriarch Kirill is going to Antarctica, and you ask yourself, why? Of course, covering up the facts and without any hard evidence, the Ark of Gabriel and the rumors surrounding it can only be relegated to conjecture. And a lot of this are things that are coming, I've read several accounts of this in several different areas, and so much of it is secretive that it is conjecture, of course. However, that said, it is interesting to think that some of the world's most powerful entities would set aside their differences to come together and try to fend off the end of the world, or something that could potentially have been the end of the world. So this goes all the way back to the Great Schism in 1054 when the both popes excommunicated each other, and this is the first time that they got together since then. And we see that in Antarctica, why would they have anything to do with Antarctica at all? Well, also think about this. It is also true that it is hoped that the Ark of Gabriel would stay undisturbed in the most desolate region of the world for millennia to come. That is what the said preference is. Put it in Antarctica so nobody can go near it, nobody can touch it, so this can never happen to anybody again. Nice thought, but with all the things that we've been looking at that concern the South Pole, understanding that these are like the days of Noah, and all these Bible prophecies are coming to pass. How much significance does this Ark of Gabriel have on end time events themselves? Remember, however, in all of this, strange supernatural things have been taking place in Antarctica. Remember, we talked about Admiral Byrd and the subterranean world he saw. We studied how the Nazis in Germany came to the South Pole trying to create the new Schwabenland, and all the technology that they brought there. And when Admiral Byrd led the flotilla operation, high jumped to Antarctica, the great technology that almost destroyed the entire fleet. All these things have been happening in Antarctica. And what is the reason for all of this stuff to be centered now in Antarctica? Take special note, they are still happening. It seems that something happening. They'd say that there's a portal to the hollow earth from the South Pole. And this is one place where Satan exists at the South Pole. These are all things that have been written about and have been speculated upon. And I openly acknowledge that a lot of this is speculation, but this is the things that people are talking about even right now. Now, upon being briefed of the cataclysmic potential of the Ark of Gabriel, Russian Prime Minister Vladimir Putin ordered his naval ships to transport the Ark using the precautions that Kirill was given to Antarctica. So the Russian Navy got involved here. It is in Antarctica where the Holy Trinity Russian Orthodox Church stands as the only religious structure on the whole continent of Antarctica. So there's some roots there that the Russian Orthodox Church has, and they're the only ones in Antarctica to have this. And this church is near where they buried the Ark of Gabriel. So we see that this Russian ocean research ship left Saudi Arabia port for Antarctica and was surrounded by other ships took the Ark of Gabriel to Antarctica, allegedly. So this is what we're looking at. Of course, we can only speculate as to what goes on under the ice there because we don't know. We're only speculating, but it seems like there are some amazing things going on under the ice there in Antarctica. It's not so much of a distant place anymore. It's one of the places that on the earth that looks to be perking up in the last days. And there's what secrets lay under the ice that we don't know about even today. But understand that the last days scenario, when you look at the book of Revelation, you look at the prophets in the old covenant, you find that there's a lot of things going on a worldwide scale. The book of Enoch talks about, remember, he's taken all around the earth. Adam and Eve had dominion of the whole earth. So we're not really sure exactly where all of this fits in, but it does seem to have some legendary place that is perking up here in the last days. And remember that Richard Byrd and all the Antarctic secrets that he had that went to his grave with him. So as we look at this today, we understand that as it was in the days of Noah, and we're going to be ending our study on the hollow earth here because amazing things have happened. Amazing things are happening. Remember something that Jesus said. He said, therefore, God also has highly exalted him, Jesus Christ, and given him the name which is above every name, that at the name of Jesus every knee should bow, of those in heaven, of those on the earth, and of those under the earth. The one thing I know in all of this is that every knee was going to bow, living or dead. They're going to bow before Jesus Christ, the Messiah, the living Son of the living God. He is the creator of all things, and all the drama that we're seeing taking place, and all the theories and all the conjectures. Remember, it's all about his coming back to planet Earth. He's the Lion of the tribe of Judah, and he is the one who is going to save those who believe in him. And all of these things are being set up for the days ahead. So we want to keep that in mind as we study some of these topics, which are very interesting, but the only thing that really matters is Jesus is coming back very, very soon. God bless you. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you next time.